Hello and welcome to an exciting episode of Center Stage with ICS Theatre. I'm your host Anaita Mantri and I'm really thrilled about today's show because today, for the first time, we have a woman guest speaker. So without further ado, let me introduce our guest tonight and we'll jump right into our show. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with the founder and artistic director of Bond Street Theatre in New York, Ms. Joanna Sherman. Ms. Sherman has been involved with the Bond Street Theatre in New York as a director, choreographer, musician, and an actor for over 4 decades. She has not only participated in innumerable company performances, but also successfully carried out several projects globally. She has dedicated her life to primarily working on social justice projects in the post-war and disadvantaged communities, collaborating with local artists, and working for the benefit of women, children, and others through theatre. Her work for these causes has taken her to Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Myanmar, South America, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. Ms. Sherman has worked extensively to create all-female theatre groups in Afghanistan in order to bring information to isolated women, apart from other community improvement projects for Afghan youth leaders and initiating the Performing Artists for Balkan Peace, a network of Balkan theatres. After completing her undergraduate studies from the Cooper Union and completing an MA in Theatre and International Studies from NYU, Ms. Sherman has been a speaker on Theatre for Social Development at the United Nations, National Council on Women, Association of Performing Arts Presenters, and several prestigious universities globally, such as NYU, Columbia, Georgetown, George Washington, Johns Hopkins, University of Aarhus in Denmark, Universidade Federal do Pará in Brazil, and Kabul University in Afghanistan. She has been featured on CNN, BBC, NPR, Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, and has been published in American Theatre magazine. Under her directorship, the company received the MacArthur Award for its interdisciplinary programming. Ms. Sherman is also the 2014 recipient of the Lee Reynolds Award from the League of Professional Theatre Women and several others over the years, such as the Achievement Award in Art from NYU, Torch of Hope Award from the Baron Dess Foundation, Otto Award for Political Theatre, Public Service Award, and induction in the Hall of Fame by the Cooper Union. Welcome to the show, Ms. Sherman. We're so happy to have you on our show today.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, how are you?
To be here. Yes. Okay, good under the circumstances. Fine.
Of course. So, Ms. Sherman, I'll just jump right to it. Bond Street Theatre Company, it's your baby. You founded it, you've nurtured it, you've been at the helm for over 4 decades. You've used theatre as such a valuable tool in helping people transcending barriers of language, culture, and providing avenues for bringing about awareness and bringing about social change in so many conflict-ridden and war-torn countries around the world. I want to ask you, what is it about theatre that you think is so powerful, and how did it all begin?
Well, I have to say, first of all, that it's not all me. We're an ensemble, so I can't take full credit as a founder. We were founded as a group of about 6 people, all deciding that we would use theater as a way to bring information, to enlighten people. Now, at that time, we were just in New York City, so our vision of what the crucial issues were quite local. But as we started to travel more, it became more national. And then as we started to travel more internationally, we saw that there was a completely different environment and completely different messages. So over the years, we've really started to focus more on where we feel that we're most needed, which is these countries in crises. And it changes. You know, we did a lot of work in South America and Haiti, and then in the Balkans during the wars in the Balkans. We were there working with refugees and theaters. And then after 9/11, we started to work in Afghanistan, Pakistan. So it's been quite a journey. And then we've done a lot of work in South Asia. So that's another focus of ours. And now we've just begun some work in Africa. So we're moving around the globe. And I would say that from the beginning, our focus has been social justice and how that manifests in different environments, whether it's local New York City or whether it's in the world. And if you speak about social justice, then you have to look at the issues of women, because usually women are sort of on the lower level of receiving social justice. And of course, there's ethnic issues and racial issues all mixed in there. It's very intersectional.
Now, you've traveled extensively throughout the world and you've worked literally in the trenches in many of the poorest countries. Which location in your mind has been the most challenging place to work in, and which has been the most rewarding on the other hand, and why?
It's probably impossible for me to say which was the most critical and which was the most wonderful and the most successful, because, you know, each place is challenging in a different way, perhaps. You know, like Myanmar, well, it was a military dictatorship, so we had to be very careful about how we address things. We had to be much more using analogy rather than actually people, like a show that we did about interreligious and interethnic getting along. We used animals instead of people, so that we were really sort of getting to an issue from another angle. This has been very effective, to not like really just speak straight out, but you know, everybody gets it. The audience gets it, but the politicians can't really point at you as saying something specific. And speaking of Myanmar, that's another situation where it was a military dictatorship. We watched it approach freedom of speech, and now we see it clamping down again, just like in Afghanistan. Another really critical area, and an area where we spend the longest period of time. I think we spent a long time in the Balkan area, maybe 8 years, but 18 years in Afghanistan. So that's an area where we've seen crises, and then, as you say, like real rewarding situation, both.
Now, would you like to share some specific success stories from any of these places, especially from Afghanistan or maybe from India or any of these places?
Yeah, in Afghanistan, I think we were most proud of the fact that we started all women's theater companies, because women had been pretty much excluded from theater, and men were playing the parts of women and not doing a very good job of it either. You know, we're very physical theater company and interested in body language. And we had to tell them, if you're going to play the part of a woman, let's look at how a woman walks. She doesn't like walk like a man. She walks like a woman. How does she walk? And she doesn't mince around the stage in a very silly manner and cry a lot, which is pretty much what they were doing. So we had to really start from what we were given there. But starting the women's theater groups was a major success. And these were the first all women's theater groups since 1952. And to do this, we had to get permission. We had to go to the local mullah, we had to go to the local governors and religious leaders and elders and say, no, this is going to be, we're not going to do anything un-Islamic. We're going to make shows by the women about what they think is important to speak about. They're going to write the shows, and we're going to perform just for women. And that was the critical thing, just for women. So a success story is that our 4 all-women's theater companies created shows about voting rights during the elections. And this was immensely successful in that the areas where the girls performed, the voting went up by 80% by women. And what these shows were, I mean, I would say you could create a show about anything. They were very practical shows about what is voting? How do you vote? How do I get there? Is it just going to be women there, or it could be men? what do I have to do? But I can't read or write. How am I going to do this? So really enacting from the very beginning exactly what they're going to do and what the expectations are. And by seeing it live right in front of them, it was, they understood it and they went, okay, I can participate in this. And the girls went from, performed in women's homes. They performed in the parks, in the women's park, and in women's jirgas and other areas where just women congregate. But in some areas, they went into women's homes, into the courtyard, and gathered just the women from the neighborhood and did the show there about voting. And they've done this again and again, not just about voting, but about, you know, women's rights and hygiene and all different kinds of topics. So it's been very successful. And as I was telling you right before, they were doing very well up until extremely recently.
Mm-hmm. So that was going to be actually my next question for you, that given that your main focus of the body of your work has been on promoting awareness and social issues that are affecting women, especially in Afghanistan, for the last 18 years while the US was still there. Now, given the current turn of events there, what do you think is going to be the fate of the women and children there? Do you think that you will ever be able to go back and continue your work, or what is your hope, and what do you think is going to happen?
Well, this is the real point of discussion amongst everybody at every level of government, military around the world. Everybody's wondering because nobody knows right now. There's so many factors at work here. Are the people, the Taliban in charge, are they going to be able to manage their foot soldiers out in the village? These young guys, they're not educated, and they're acting on some kind of hearsay that they think is the proper way to act. And there's a lot of violence against them and women, and it's very distressing. I'm getting stories from everywhere about Taliban breaking into homes and beating people up or killing people. So is that group of Taliban on top, are they going to be able to manage? And then secondly, are they going to be able to manage to run a country? They have no experience necessarily in running a government. Are they going to be able to manage that? If you have like a group of educated, smart people at the top, that's a help. But governments are massive, and 75 to 80% of what kept public services alive were from foreign sources. So are foreign sources going to continue that? And is there going to be a deal that we will give you this if you do that? I think everybody's wondering, what is the fate of women and girls? How are they going to be able to manifest? But I'll tell you this, that we are getting inundated with pleas of help for all of the people that we worked with. Because one other thing about theater is that, you know, it teaches you how to speak out in public and how to express yourself. And it gives people the courage and confidence to speak their mind. So a lot of the people that we worked with over the years became public figures. They went into politics, they went into law, they went into human rights. And as public figures, they are particularly in danger. So we have actually encouraged all of these people that worked with us to put themselves in a spotlight. And now they're coming to me and saying, please, you have to help me get out of here because we are in serious danger. We are targets. And especially the women, I would say, are probably more targets because they were absolutely working outside of the bounds of what the Taliban think is the proper way to be. And we tried to get as many people out as we can. It's been extremely difficult. As you know, the time frame was very, very short. Wow. And I'm hoping that the United States and other Western countries continue to help people leave. We have a few women that we work with that actually have SIV. SIV is the special immigrant visas. And still, even with that proper documentation, they can't leave. And now the borders are closed. Are the borders going to open? Are other countries going to open their doors? Are there going to be evacuation flights from Tajikistan or Uzbekistan, Pakistan, India? You know, there's so many unanswered questions. And I think I tell some of the people that I can't specifically help that really just stay low, keep a low profile, and wait, because we just don't know how this is going to manifest yet. It's a very painful situation now, and it's heartbreaking to me to see that change and then see everything just reverse. So it's heartbreaking.
Right. It is truly heartbreaking, and really, my heart goes out to all of those people. I really wish for them to be safe, and I hope there's some miracle and things work out for them. I really do hope.
Yeah.
Uh, Talking a little bit about your work in India, in 2012, you had directed a play called Bhupal by Rahul Verma,
Mhm.
based on the Bhopal gas tragedy that happened.
Yeah.
I have heard a lot of good things about this production, and its remarkable set design. Could you tell us a little bit about that production and what your experience was like in India?
Yeah, that was really a very a great experience on a lot of levels. Just briefly about the set design, from our years of traveling, we know that certain things are very easy to travel with. So we thought that the set design should be fabric, because fabric is easy to travel with. It's light, and it was very long panels. And those panels provided a backstage area where we could do some shadow work, and then also projections on the fabric. So it was 4 panels extending across the stage, and very high also. So they were really quite a presence on the stage. And then there was a lot of action in front of that, of course. The projections were done by my cohort here, Michael McGuigan, and projections from the whole story, so people could really see the images of what that Union Carbide plant looked like before and after, and also some really tragic shots about the effects of that explosion that spread this poisonous gas and killed so many people and led to so much deformation of children, and which continues today. I mean, they're still feeling the effects of this now, and that was 1984. So I think it was really a revelation to the people that saw it that this occurred, because it was a long time ago. But I think it's really important that we remember this, because we have to hold corporations accountable for the effects that they have on our environment. And it's tough to do that, but we have to really stay strong and keep that up. So I think it was, again, a reminder of people what could happen. And also in the staging of it, I like, as the director, I like to not have blackouts. I find them very disruptive. I like a play to be seamless. And again, we're very movement oriented. So all of the choreography of moving the furniture was very designed so that everything was on wheels and things would move in and out in a very fluid manner. And scenes would very fluidly go from one to the other. And we had some, it's comical now looking at it, but it was sort of infuriating at the time. But some of the places where we performed, some of these old guys in the lighting booth really did not want to accept that there was going to be no blackouts. It's like, this is the way theater is done, and I'm sorry, we're going to have blackouts. And I had to say, no, don't turn off the lights. I will strangle you if you turn off the lights. They were determined to just turn off those lights. And I think that they just didn't get it. Even when they saw how seamlessly the furniture was moving, it's like, that's just not to be done. So I think it was an experience for the audience too. That was, of course, much more open to the idea that you can move furniture around on the stage and bodies and have it be a choreographed situation. But that was sort of comical looking back on it, how they were so, especially in Kolkata. Yeah, so one of the other things is that in each area that we traveled, we gathered a group of artists, or some people that were not always wanted to be artists, to be the part of the chorus. which was a group of women. They played the villagers. And so in each case, one of our trainers, one of our actors would gather this group and tell them what they needed to do and how they needed to do the scene. So we had a different group of actors, this chorus, in Kolkata and in Mumbai and every place that we went. So it was a great opportunity for some of the local people to really feel part of the situation. And of course, a great way to bring more audience in because they brought in their families and friends to see the show.
That's great.
Yeah. But, you know, we've had a lot of experiences in India. We had just done a program, I think it was 2018, yeah, I guess it was probably 2018, called Border Stories. And it was a collaboration with Indian artists, musicians, dancers, and writers, and Bangladeshi musicians, dancers, writers, and artists. So it was a group together of Bangladeshi and Indian artists and us as directors. And we created stories about what the partition was like and how it's manifested today and what the situation is. And then we took the show to all these little villages along the border of India and Bangladesh, including that no man's land, that one major border crossing that is kind of a no man's land. I don't know if you know it.
Right,
Yeah, it's right in there, right there with the soldiers and everything. And then we interacted with the audience at the end to see what their thoughts of it were. Should there be a renewal, a coming together of Bangladesh and India, or how do we deal with the situation going forward, and getting their responses to it. It was really very, very enlightening. And some of the older people in the audience that watched the show were weeping watching it, saying like, oh, I remember I had to leave my home and I had to leave my family and my land, and now I'm here. It was a really great experience, and you know, full of the dancing and music from all of the cultures together. It was very beautiful.
That's great. Going back to what you mentioned earlier about the way you handled the production in Myanmar using animals instead of people to convey, you know, the issues and make a statement about it. It reminds me of the book Animal Farm by George Orwell. Was that your inspiration for it? Because my kids are reading it now, and my son is a little bit younger, so he's kind of finding it hard to grasp the political connotations behind it. But it's such a clever way. It's really, you know, such a great way of showing something without, you know, making a very controversial political statement.
Yeah,
Is that
exactly.
something that you were trying to do?
I don't know if we thought of that specifically, but that certainly is another great example of using animals to tell the story. Yeah, in our case, it was the frogs and the lizards that just didn't get along, and why they didn't get along, and how they were fighting for certain resources, and how they resolved the problem. And then again, we also take it to the audience at the end and say, well, what do you think of this solution that we proposed in our play? Can you think of another solution? And in some situations, we get people from the audience to come on stage and enact how they would resolve the situation. And then maybe someone else comes up on stage and offers another solution. So they actually take the part of somebody on stage to enact a scene that they had seen, that they would have resolved it in another way. It's very effective. If the audience is too shy to do that, then we just take suggestions from the audience and speak to them afterwards. But you know, the audience understands it. The audience always gets it.
Yeah. All right. Ms. Sherman, thank you so much for all the work that you've been doing over the years. It is really, really incredible. And, you know, we need people like you in this world to make this world a better place. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your time today, Ms. Sherman. It was really insightful and eye-opening to speak with you.
Oh, thank you very much for giving me this voice to speak out about the value of theater for social justice.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Fawn. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
And now, here's our theater highlight for today's show. We can all agree it's a challenging time right now for so many of us. Whether it's the pandemic, the loss of a loved one, social issues such as systemic racism and political turmoil, or personal issues such as the loss of a job or a business closure, or even the ill effects of climate change through natural disasters. We are all in need of some extra support at some point in our lives. Whether through expressive writing, music, movement, or visual media, any form of art is able to help change people's perspectives, moods, relationships, and overall health. The arts are transformational and engage our hearts, our minds, and our souls. A report made public by the World Health Organization states evidence from a variety of disciplinary approaches and methodologies for the potential value of arts in contributing to core detriments of health, playing a critical role in health promotion, helping to prevent the onset of mental illness or age-related physical decline, supporting the treatment or management of mental illness, non-communicable diseases, and neurological disorders, and assisting in acute and end-of-life care. So surround yourself with art, engage in art, and as I always say, for the benefit of others, support the arts so that art can help heal the world. That's it from me today, folks. Stay tuned for our next episode. I'm your host, Anaita Mantri, signing off. I'll see you next time on Center Stage with ICS Theatre. Until then, please take care and be safe. Thank you all for watching and have a great night.